When I was 22, I finally landed a job in New York City. It wasn't glamorous. Entry level, long hours, barely enough pay, but it was my foot in the door. The only problem was that I was living in New Jersey, and anyone who's ever tried to commute into Manhattan every single day knows how soul-crushing that gets. Between the trains, the delays, and the money bleeding out of my account, I knew I needed to move closer. Fast. I didn't have much savings, and NYC rent isn't exactly forgiving. So like most desperate 20-somethings, I turned to Craigslist. That's where I saw it. Private bedroom available. Hell's Kitchen. Very affordable. The price was suspiciously low. Like too low. But the pictures looked normal enough. Small bedroom. Shared kitchen. Decent lighting. No obvious red flags. I messaged immediately. The landlord replied within 10 minutes. We agreed to meet the next day. The apartment was in Hell's Kitchen, wedged between two old brick buildings that looked like they'd been standing there since before fire codes existed. The hallway smelled faintly of mildew and something sweet I couldn't quite place. The landlord opened the door himself. He was a thin man, probably late 40s, with tired eyes and a voice that didn't quite know where to land in conversation. He smiled a little too long, blinked a little too slow. Still, nothing outright alarming. He gave me a quick tour. The apartment was small, but clean enough. My room was at the end of the hall. Then he gestured toward another door. That's Bren's room, he said. Your roommate. He nodded. Very quiet. Keeps to himself. That actually sounded ideal. The landlord knocked on Bren's door. Bren, you want to come say hi? No answer. He laughed awkwardly. Probably napping. Something about that bothered me. Middle of the afternoon, but I brushed it off. We sat in the living room, went over the details. I said I was interested. He handed me an application. The next day, he called and said the room was mine. I moved in the following week. My dad helped me unload the van. Bed frame, mattress, boxes, lamps. The whole time, Bren never came out. Not once. But we could hear him. Footsteps, shuffling, a door opening and closing somewhere behind his wall. Maybe he's shy, my dad said. Maybe. But when my dad finally left and the door closed behind him, the apartment felt wrong. Too quiet, like the air was holding its breath. I sat on my bed, laptop open, Netflix playing softly. That's when I heard it. Bren's door. Open. Close. This was it. First interaction. I stood up and walked toward my door, but before I reached it, the front door slammed shut. I stepped into the living room. Empty. No one there. I stood there for a full minute, heart thudding, trying to rationalize it. Maybe he stepped out fast. Maybe I missed him. I ate ramen, locked my bedroom door, and went to sleep. Sometime in the night, I woke up to the sound of the front door closing again. Then footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate. They stopped outside my door. I sat up, staring at the thin strip of light under the door. Two shadows. Feet. Just standing there. Not moving. Not shifting weight. Just there. My heart was hammering so hard I thought he could hear it. I didn't say anything. I didn't breathe. After what felt like forever, the feet turned away. Footsteps retreated. A door closed. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, Bren was gone. I assumed he worked nights or early mornings. I spent the day grocery shopping, trying to feel normal again. When I got back, I dumped the bags on the couch, cooked dinner, watched TV. Hours passed. No Bren. Later that night, I ran to the nearby 7-Eleven for toothpaste. When I came back, I noticed his door was cracked open. Light on. This was it. No excuses now. I knocked lightly. No answer. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. No bed. No dresser. No clothes. Nothing. Except a single chair in the corner. One of those hard plastic chairs you'd find in a high school classroom. Just sitting there, facing the wall. My stomach dropped. My hand started shaking. I turned off the light and shut the door, telling myself he must have moved out suddenly. I went to my room and locked the door. That's when a headache hit. Sudden. Sharp. I called the landlord. The phone rang. And then, I heard the ringing. From inside my closet, right behind me. The phone rang twice. Then went to voicemail, meaning whoever had that phone declined the call. I realized, all at once, that Bren was never real. I didn't open the closet. I ran to the bathroom and locked myself inside, shaking so badly I could barely dial 911. The police arrived quickly. They searched the apartment. They found him, hiding under my bed. He wasn't a landlord. He didn't own the apartment. There was no lease, no Bren, just a man with keys and lies. I moved out the next day. I still think about how long he'd been watching me, and how close I came to finding it myself. If you've ever been broke enough, you know the feeling. That point where convenience matters more than comfort. Where red flags don't feel red anymore. They just feel like obstacles you're too tired to go around. That's where I was when I found the ad. A shared apartment, fully furnished, close to the chicken farm where I worked. Cheap enough that I wouldn't have to choose between rent and groceries. The man renting the room out was named Ben. He was old, 70s, maybe older. His back was slightly hunched, his hands constantly trembling like they never quite warmed up. He spoke slow, deliberate, and always stared a second too long. There was no lease, no contract. You pay weekly, he said. Cash is fine. That should have been my first mistake. But I moved in anyway. The spare bedroom was already furnished. A bed, a small dresser, a nightstand. All I had to bring were my clothes and a few personal things. Ben showed me around the house. Kitchen, living room, bathroom. Then we passed a door near the back hallway. The basement, he said flatly. That was it. No elaboration. I didn't ask. The first few days were normal. Quiet. Almost too quiet. Ben mostly stayed downstairs. I worked long shifts at the farm and came home exhausted. Sometimes we'd pass each other in the kitchen, exchange a nod, nothing more. Then one night, everything changed. I came home sore and filthy from work, collapsed in a bed, and fell asleep almost instantly. I don't know how long I'd been asleep when my bedroom door creaked open. Light spilled in from the hallway. I sat up just as Ben stepped into the doorway. He didn't fully enter the room, just stood there, hand gripping the doorknob so tightly his knuckles were white. "Stay out of the basement," he said. His voice was low, hoarse, almost angry. "I know you went down there." I was half asleep, confused. "What?" "I didn't." He stared at me for a long moment, eyes dark and unreadable. "You did," he said quietly. "Don't do it again." Then he shut the door. I heard his footsteps retreat down the hallway. Then the basement door opened and closed. I sat there, heart racing, trying to understand what just happened. I hadn't gone into the basement, so why was he so sure? The next day, Ben left early. I watched from the window as he climbed into his rusted old car and rattled down the road. He didn't look back. I was alone in the house. That's when my eyes drifted to the basement door. I don't think I would have ever gone down there if he hadn't said anything. If he hadn't accused me. If he hadn't looked at me like I already knew something. Curiosity won. I opened the door. The staircase was steep and narrow. Pitch black. The air smelled damp and cold. I descended slowly, one step at a time, until my foot found the concrete floor. I found the light switch. The basement flickered to life. At first glance, it looked normal. Workbench, shelving, old boxes, tools. Then I noticed a door in the far corner. Small, plain, closed. There was something strange about it. I walked closer. The smell hit me first. Rotten, sweet, heavy. The door had some kind of rubber seal along the bottom, like someone had tried to keep something from escaping. I grabbed the handle. It resisted. I pulled harder. The door opened. I wish I had never looked inside. Blood stains covered the concrete floor. Dark, dried, layered. Black plastic bags were stacked in the corner, long, bulky shapes that were unmistakable in what they suggested. The smell was overwhelming. Death. I gagged, covering my mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Then I saw the camera, mounted high in the corner, pointed down at a workbench. I didn't stay long enough to look closer. I took one photo with my phone, hands shaking so badly it nearly dropped, and ran. Up the stairs, through the house, into my room. I shoved my clothes into garbage bags. That's when I heard the front door slam. Ben was home. I forced myself to act normal. "Hey," I called from the hallway. No response. I heard the basement door open, heavy footsteps descending. That was my cue. I grabbed my keys and bolted. Out the door, into my car, tires screeching as I tore down the road. I didn't stop driving until I reached my brother's farm 15 miles away. I showed him a photo. He went pale. You should have called the sheriff immediately, he said. So I think everyone remembers the first time they walk into their college dorm. That moment when your whole life feels like it's about to start. New people, new freedom, no parents, no rules except the ones you break. I remember dragging my suitcase down the hallway, heart racing with excitement and nerves, trying to imagine who my roommate would be. You always hope for someone normal, someone easy. I didn't get that. When I opened the door to my dorm room for the first time, he was already there, sitting on his bed. He had fair skin, jet black hair, glasses that constantly slid down his nose, and a posture that made him look smaller than he probably was. When he stood to shake my hand, his grip was limp, like he didn't quite understand how handshakes worked. "Hey," he said. His voice was soft, slightly high-pitched, almost hesitant. "I'll call him John." There wasn't anything wrong with him. Not really. But something about him immediately made my stomach tighten. He didn't smile with his eyes. He didn't seem nervous or excited like everyone else. Just flat. I told myself not to judge. First impressions can be wrong. That first day was chaos. People shouting in the halls. Doors slamming. Parents helping unload cars. Introductions happening everywhere. I left the room to meet people on my floor and almost immediately clicked with a few guys. Laughing, joking, making plans for later. When I came back, John was exactly where I left him, sitting. I tried to make conversation while unpacking. "So where are you from?" "Here." "What are you majoring in?" "Undecided." "What kind of stuff are you into?" "Games." Every answer was clipped. No follow-ups. No curiosity. At exactly 10 p.m., he shut off his desk lamp and got into bed. Lights out. It was weird. No one had classes the next day. The hall was loud with people hanging out. But John was already asleep, or pretending to be. I put my headphones in and watched videos on my phone until midnight before finally passing out. The next morning, a few guys from the floor and I went to the dining hall together. When I came back, something fell off. My duffel bag was on the floor. I was sure I'd left it on my chair. I picked it up. It felt lighter. I opened it, rifling through my clothes, trying to figure out what was missing. I couldn't immediately tell, but I knew something was wrong. I turned to John. "Did you go through my bag?" His reaction was immediate. "No." Sharp. Defensive. "Are you sure?" I said no. The way he snapped made my chest tighten. I didn't push it. I had no proof. But I didn't trust him anymore. That night, I invited him out with me and the guys from the floor. "No," he said. "I need to stay ahead on work." It was still syllabus week. I went anyway. When I got back later that night, John was asleep again. Perfectly still. Facing the wall. A storm rolled in some time after I fell asleep. Thunder shook the building. Lightning flashed, so bright I could see it even with my eyes closed. That's what I thought it was. Lightning. The next morning, my backpack was open. Moved. I didn't accuse him this time. Instead, I decided to watch. That night, I stayed up late, scrolling on my phone, listening to the rain pound against the window. Around 1 or 2 a.m., I rolled onto my side and pretended to sleep. Minutes passed. Then I noticed the flashes again. 3 quick bursts of light. Not lightning. I turned over. John was sitting straight up in bed. His arms dropped the second I moved. "What are you doing?" I asked. He stuttered. I couldn't sleep. My heart was pounding. I didn't sleep at all after that. The next day, I told the guys on my floor everything. They didn't hesitate. "That's creepy as hell," one of them said. "You need to request a room change." I agreed. When I got back to the dorm, John was gone. His laptop sat on his bed, lid slightly open. I shouldn't have touched it, but I did. The desktop was chaos. Folders everywhere. Random files. Images scattered with no organization. I clicked one, then another. My stomach dropped. Photos of me, sleeping, taken with flash. From inside the room, there were dozens. Pictures of my duffel bag, my backpack, the inside of it. I took a video of the screen, documenting everything, then deleted every photo I could find. I went straight to housing services and showed them the video. They approved my room change immediately. I was moving the next day. That night was my last in the room. I didn't sleep. Sometime in the early morning hours, I heard the springs of John's mattress creak. He stood up. Silence. Then, a slow, controlled exhale. Right above my bed. I knew he was standing over me. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't turn around. After what felt like forever, I heard the springs again. He went back to bed. I was out of that room at sunrise. My new roommate was normal, friendly, safe. But sometimes when I think about John, I still feel sick. Because I don't know why he took those pictures. I don't know what he planned to do with them. And I don't know how many people he did that to before me.